Atheist Alliance International podcast with Andy Phillips.
I don't make this stuff up.
You know, if you put Jesus Christ first, that he'll look after all your bills.
It's not fake, it's faith.
Hi, you're listening to the Atheist Alliance International podcast with me, Andy Phillips. This is the podcast that brings you interviews and news from a secular world. We're on all major podcasting platforms, so follow us on your favourite one. We're also on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube, hi. In this podcast, we'll be looking at blasphemy and more specifically, some of the blasphemy cases that are going on in Nigeria right now, where Atheist Alliance International has been working with legal teams on specific cases, which we want to provide some context for and also some updates. With me today, I've got Bill Flavell. Now, Bill is the Vice President of Atheist Alliance International, who's been working alongside my other guest today, who's part of the legal team on the ground, so to speak, and that's Kola Alapinni. Hi, Kola. Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Hi, Andy. I'm good.
Fine, thank you.
Good. Listen, I think what we need to do is to start with from Bill, I think a little bit of background on this concept of the blasphemy law, specifically in Nigeria at the moment. But blasphemy law in general, I mean, it seems like a bit of a archaic process. But in Nigeria, it's an incredibly serious thing, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is in the 12 Sharia states, the 12 Nigerian states that have adopted Sharia law as a penal code. Yeah, it definitely is. The idea is to protect, I think it's to protect people's feelings from being upset and to protect the peace. So it's a bit crazy, really, because in order to have a blasphemy law, you have to restrict human rights, fundamental rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution. You know, we have in the Nigerian Constitution, the federal Constitution, the freedom of thought, the freedom of religion, and the freedom of expression. And blasphemy laws cut those away from you. So there is an issue in my mind, and I think in other people's minds, about whether the blasphemy laws are even constitutional. I think they may not be.
But it seems like it doesn't seem to matter to people there. It seems to be, everybody seems to be complicit in this whole process that blasphemy laws are in place and they will be punished.
Yeah. I think one of the things about Nigeria is that it's a very religious country. I think something like 98% of the people are very religious. And it's equally split between Muslims and Christians. The constitution is a secular constitution. It does not permit a state to adopt a religion. However, pretty much all the states do adopt a religion in one way or another. Christian states will use money to build churches and religious symbols and so forth. And Muslim states will use public money to send people on the Hajj and so forth. And one of the things the Muslim states do is they've adopted a Sharia penal code, which has, amongst other things, blasphemy laws. It also has laws to cut off your hands and feet, although they're rarely used. But
it's there. I think the other thing here is, which I think a lot of people won't understand, is how can a country that has a secular constitution and has said that you cannot use religion as a weapon, you know, it's a secular constitution, and yet they've got Sharia law, and it is actionable. It actually happens, and people are going to prison. They're being sentenced to death. And we're going to talk about Omar Farouk in this.
Yeah. Well, we should maybe let Kola talk about this, but just for my two penneth, the latest federal constitution was enacted in 1999, I think.
Yeah.
And it allowed for personal law to be settled by Sharia courts for those Muslims who wish it to be so. So Muslims could elect to have their divorce or the custody of their children or their wills and things like this settled by a Sharia court. And that's included in the 1999 Constitution. However, in 2000, one state, I can't remember which one it is now, one state elected to go further than that and enact a penal code. So for murder and for everything else, you could be tried under Sharia law. It's not allowed for in the Constitution. The Constitution says nothing about a Sharia penal code. It only talks about personal law, and it only talks about that applying to Muslims and only those Muslims who agree to be tried in a Sharia court. So they've gone further than they really should have done according to the Constitution.
And more importantly, allowed to go further. Seems that the whole point of it, they're allowed to go further. It seems to be just put to one side, and if you're doing that, then that's fine.
It's a gentleman's club, you know. If the Christians start complaining about the Muslims will complain about the Christians. And actually, it's a quieter life, I think, if everybody just lets everyone get on with everything. But it's unconstitutional. Kola, what do you think? It's really more your area than mine.
Yeah, of course it is unconstitutional. It's inconsistent. Well, probably the technical word to use is that it is inconsistent with the Constitution. Section 10 of the Nigerian Constitution clearly states that the federal government or the state cannot promote any religion. So the Islamic police is a violation of the Constitution. The pilgrimage boards, both Christian and Muslim, is a violation of the Constitution. So what happens is the government has some sort of giveaway, ex gratia support to Christians and Muslims, set up a board, and they could foot your bills, sometimes 100%, all the way to Jerusalem, so that you can go and see where our Lord Jesus Christ was born, or to go to Mecca, Medina, you know, in a country where we have the highest number of out of school children, probably in West Africa, especially in Kano State, and where we're struggling with health facilities. When our president fell ill 2 years ago, he ran to the UK to get treated. That money can go into world-class hospitals here. You know, you have undergraduates, we have unemployed graduates. Everybody's checking out now to go to Canada and Australia and everything. We're losing our human resources to immigration by the day, by the minute. Check out the NHS in the UK, Nigerian doctors. Check out the hospitals in America, in Canada. Everybody's running away because the government is simply not put these facilities in place. And these monies that could have been useful is being used to fuel religious strife, because inevitably that's what happens, you know. And you can see religion has been weaponized in Nigeria. The Kano State governor destroying 200 million naira worth of drinks. That's almost £500,000 worth of drinks, because I think a million pounds would be about 500 million naira or so. So that's almost £500,000 worth of drinks. After the government, this is the clincher, after the government has collected VAT and taxes, then you destroy the drinks. Then you put these people out of pocket. You further fuel, you know, economic disorder and unemployment. You've thrown those people, you know, you've thrown them into penury now. You've destroyed their source of livelihood. He wears the uniform of the Islamic police. You know, which greater endorsement of religion can we point to when the governor?
I just say this is going beyond unconstitutional. This is obviously misappropriation of funds. It's using money to promote religious causes, where it's obviously in the Constitution that you cannot do that. This is bordering on corruption, or has gone well into corruption now.
Andy, this is mayhem. It goes beyond corruption. We're borderline mayhem. That's where we are now. Otherwise, how do you explain these convictions in Kano? Is that not mayhem?
Where it's actually sitting here now is, it's going beyond corruption, and we understand a lot of things that happen in Nigeria in the past has been very, very, very corrupt. But having it as a a weapon, a religious weapon to use, especially in the northern states. We're talking about really, really serious things that AAI have been, and Bill, you've been working with Kola and other people within that region, because people are dying, people are being put onto death row basically, without having any representation. And this is the thing that disturbs me the most. This is not just about using Sharia law more than it should be. This is actually, as Kola was saying, it's using religion as a weapon. There's some incredibly bad things that have gone on that you've been involved in as well. So, guys, could you talk to me a little bit about maybe this Omar Farouk case and just how that came about and what has happened now?
Maybe I'll start with that one because I was the first one, I think, to find out about that. There were two guys. There's a 22-year-old Yahya Sharif-Aminu.
That's the singer, isn't it?
He was known to be a singer, yeah. And there was a young man of 16 years old, Umar Farouk. Both of them were accused of blasphemy, insulting Muhammad. Both of them were tried on the same day, which is the 10th of August last year in Kano. And both were convicted. So Yahya was given a death sentence. I still can't get my head around that. A death sentence for saying something wrong. And Umar was given 10 years in prison with hard labor, a 16-year-old. So I heard about that a few days after it happened. I went to the AAI board and said, what can we do to help these guys? We agreed that we would start a fundraiser and that I would try and get a legal team together and we would try and defend the guys. And that's what happened. By the time I was speaking to Kola and some other lawyers in Nigeria, we had, I think, about 22 days left. Interestingly, just to give you a bit of background, the two young men convicted were given 30 days to appeal, which is strange because normally we would be given 90 days. They were not given access to lawyers. They were not given access to lawyers throughout the entire trial process and conviction, and not afterwards either. So how on earth could they launch an appeal? And the bottom line really is that we did that. We did that at AAI. We got the team together, and if we'd not done that, in all likelihood, Yahya would be dead now, and Umar would be in prison with no prospect of release. So maybe I can ask Kola to take over from there. That's the background.
Yes, we're incredibly grateful to Bill and the organization for standing by us. We have been talking as friends of like minds for a couple of days, maybe weeks, when these cases sort of fell on our laps in court and gained national prominence. The Nigerian Bar Association could not access them. We had some learned silks, senior advocates of Nigeria. They couldn't get access. By some sheer ingenuity, we were able to, and that saved the day. We have men on ground, we have boots on ground who were able, friendly allies in the northern states, especially in Kano, who were able to guide us through the murky judicial process, because it was indeed murky. There was a state-sponsored attempt to prevent access to justice by the young men. And yeah, that's it. Basically, we had to go twice because the first appeal we launched, the first notice of appeal we launched was for the young man sentenced to death, and then we filed the notice of appeal on the 3rd of September. So when we got back, we had to have a strategy meeting again. I said, hey, I think we left someone behind, and that's Omar Farouk. And 30-day window is gonna, end very soon. They were sentenced by the same judge in the same court, the same day. So we had to go back again a couple of days on the 7th of September. We had to, and these trips to Kano are not, easy to say the least, to plan and very Herculean. But yes, we did it. We filed those appeals with the support of AAI, and that was it. We set the ball rolling, and there's a lot of jubilation, interestingly as well, in parts of Kano State. Question that it's not everyone who supports the Sharia penal code, and yeah,
one of
the appeals were sent.
Sorry, I don't mean speaking over to you. We've got a little bit of delay on these things. Also the governor of Kano State. Didn't you say that he stated that he was determined to kill these people or put them in prison and things like that? And this is one of the reasons why they didn't have representation. The length that they could appeal was taken from 90 to 30 days to make it as difficult as possible for them to have any representation whatsoever.
Well, the only thing I'll say about the representation issue, the court did ask for lawyers to be provided for these two young men, and the reason no lawyers turned up is because of intimidation. People are afraid to represent people for blasphemy. So, in a sense, the court did the right thing. They asked for lawyers to come forward, but no one stepped forward.
See, this is another thing that sort of needs to be highlighted, is this intimidation. And Kola, maybe you could give us a bit of an idea of what that actually means on the ground.
Yes, that was what I was going to say, and Bill just hit the nail on the head. It is instrumental and very important to point out, and that on one hand, the court asks for legal representation for these boys, and they are actually constitutionally empowered. The Constitution says where someone is arraigned and he does not have legal representation, the state must provide. We have a body called the Legal Aid Council. They must provide counsel for him. However, due to the fear for reprisal attacks and intimidation, no lawyer stepped forward. And you also have the Muslim bodies, the Muslim organizations, saying no Muslim lawyer must step forward. Any Muslim lawyer that says that does that is not a true Muslim. And thirdly, and more importantly, because we eventually formed a merger with two other colleagues who are Muslims, in 2015, when they defended some people for these same blasphemy offenses, there were 5 defendants set free, and there is an appeal. The courtroom was burnt, the station was burned down, and the court had to move to the secret location. It had to sit at the side court.
Yeah, we seem to have a little bit of
nobody would expect it.
Little bit of internet lag here. It's just falling away a little bit, but we get the idea, Kola. I mean, it does seem to be a really, really bad situation over there. So now we've got and really, Bill, I've got to take my hat off to you and the rest of the guys at AAI for really stepping in and making this happen, because, as you say, these kids would be either dead or in prison for 10 years or so for something which is an opinion, and even a lot of these things. I mean, you were saying the other day, Bill, that people can trump up charges of blasphemy just out of spite to hurt people and get them into trouble. It seems to be a pretty bad situation at the moment. What do you think can happen? I mean, over time, is there sort of light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, my reading the situation, again, Kola might be closer to it than I am, but my reading the situation is the leadership in Kano and possibly some other Nigerian states is becoming more radical and more Islamist. And we're going to get more and more of these cases. In fact, just last week, there was a case of a barber who cut some modern hairstyles, with some lines in the hair. And the Hizbah, which is the religious police in Kano, found two young men who'd had this haircut, and apparently they beat them to a stupor. And then they went and arrested the barber for doing it, and took him to court for blasphemy. It's unclear now because he's a Christian, so he can't be tried in a Sharia court. And if you're not tried in a Sharia court, there are no blasphemy laws. So they were looking around for things to charge him with, and the last I heard is they're going to charge him with rape, which
trumps up charges basically, just to It does sort of blow the mind. Kola, do you think that from your position, do you think there is one of the tunnel, or do you think it's just going to get worse?
Yes, undoubtedly. There is a systemic, gradual escalation and boldness from these states that practice the Islamic Penal Code. And the only way to stop this is this challenge that we have launched to go to the Federal Court of Appeal and probably to the Supreme Court. We would like it to get to the Supreme Court so that we can get a final pronouncement on these matters. And that perhaps would be the only substantial respite that we can get. And finality.
Let's explain that another way. Obviously, we're doing this to save the life of Yahya and to avoid Umar being in prison for a long period of time. But one of the side benefits potentially of that is that we can raise this issue that the Sharia penal code is unconstitutional. We raised it at the lower court and they rejected that, but that was an Islamic court in effect. So that was expected. But once we get above that to the federal level and potentially to the Supreme Court level, we then have a chance to make this case clearly that you cannot have blasphemy under the Constitution because it's unconstitutional. And there are other laws as well within Sharia that are unconstitutional. So we can make that point at the Supreme Court, and potentially we could have those laws struck out. So Nigeria could become a blasphemy-free country if we're successful.
And this is, I think, one of the reasons why we put out appeals. We put out appeals for donations for these cases. And hopefully, if you're watching this and listening to this, you understand that the reason why we're doing it is because it's really bloody serious. This is something which has got to stop. And there's going to be more people that are taken to prison, sentenced with death, sentenced with, I mean, this kid of 16, Omar Farouk, who maybe said something against the Prophet Muhammad and was charged with blasphemy, because there's no sort of genuine understanding exactly what happened. It's only sort of the allegations of it, but could have been sent to prison for 10 years, a 16-year-old child for saying something. That is mind-blowing in itself. But the reason why we put these appeals out is because without people like us, these kids are going to get killed or put in prison for a very, very long time. And that has got to stop. This is one of the reasons why we do these things. And Bill, as I say, and Kola, I've got to take my hat off to both of you guys, because Kola, I mean, it for you, it must be dangerous still.
It's all in the day's job. We're just doing our best. It's more dangerous for Omar Farouk, and we've had to evacuate him. I brought Bill up to speed on this. We worked with the UN and one of our partner agencies, and he's been moved from Kano, and his immediate family, his uncle, his brother-in-law actually, and his sister, and the two children. The sister is pregnant. She's about 7 months pregnant now. They have to flee. So we've had to relocate them from northern Nigeria. They will never be able to live there peacefully. Omar Farouk certainly can't live in northern Nigeria again. He cannot go near a mosque. It will be an affront to the extremists to see them living as a jolly good family. So we've had to move them, get safe passage for them to exit Kano State. And I'm happy to tell you that Omar is moved hundreds of miles away from there, and his brother-in-law and his sister will be joining shortly. The family are now together because we had to move his uncle, the brother-in-law, away first. He escorted Omar to the first safe house, which we provided. So over the weekend, I forgot to tell you that, the wife and the two kids joined, I think day before yesterday, and I'll send you pictures of that shortly.
Good.
Yeah.
The other thing we must not forget is, although we got an acquittal for Umar, and in the case of Yahya, who was the one who was due to be hanged, we had his sentence and conviction quashed. The judge sent him back to the Sharia court for a retrial. So we have to now fight that. We've already lodged a notice of appeal, but we have to now mount the full appeal, and we need funds for that. We've run out of funding that we got from donations, getting where we are now. So we are begging people, please donate some more money so that we can get Yahya completely off the hook. I mean, the worst case is he could go back to the Sharia court and he could be sentenced to be hanged again. That's the worst case. So we absolutely don't want that to happen. We don't think he should go back to the Sharia court. We think he should be acquitted, and we've now appealed to make that argument.
Yeah, and basically we'll put links in here where you can donate and things like that. And as you can see from what we've been talking about today, this is incredibly important. It's not something which, if you've got a heart, you can just brush under the carpet. This is something which is not just for these guys, but for everybody there as well. This is going to carry on, and we've got to really sort of start pushing in and helping people like this. So, and if it wasn't for people like Kola and Bill doing these sort of things, and other people involved in the background, and they'd be dead or they'd be in prison, and that's pretty heartbreaking. So if you can donate, that would be absolutely fantastic. We'll put links in around this video wherever we're going to put it. So listen, guys, I think that has sort of given people a bit of an idea exactly what's going on and how they can help. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming on this morning. Thank you, Kola. Really good to meet you.
Thank you. Same here.
84% of the 7.6 billion people on our planet are religious. Religious people follow dozens of religions and tens of thousands of denominations. The larger 18 religions have more than 1 million followers each, with the largest, Christianity, boasting almost 2.4 billion followers. These religions differ so much that they cannot all be true, but they could all be false. They are all believed on faith by people who are utterly convinced they are true, valuable, and endorsed by their God. What could go wrong? Unfortunately, a lot could go wrong, and it does. We see examples daily. We see violence erupting between rival religious groups. We see people engaging in violence to promote their religion and find favour with their God. We see gay people being beaten, persecuted, and even executed. We see religious minorities and non-believers being marginalised, criminalised, and attacked. We see governments and religions working hand in hand to impose religious values on every citizen. We see religious groups conspiring to have schools teach religious beliefs as science, and to deny science that conflicts with religious beliefs. It doesn't have to be this way. At Atheist Alliance International, we say there should be a strict separation between religion and state. The state should serve all its citizens equally and should not favour any religion. We say governments should protect freedom of conscience and freedom of speech, not deny them. People should be free to change their religion or have no religion. People should be free to openly express their opinions on any religion. Education should be secular and based on reason and science. Governments should promote human rights based on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In any conflict between religious beliefs and human rights must take priority. Atheist Alliance International does not seek to deny people the freedom to hold and enjoy their religious beliefs. Freedom of religion is a basic human right. We seek to eradicate the abuse of religious power, to make the world a safe place for people with no religious beliefs, and a better place for everyone. There is a very long way to go. Our project is multi-generational, but we are making a difference today. We campaign on the international stage, at the United Nations and the Council of Europe, and we help atheists and secular groups anywhere in the world. We seek to normalize atheism through education and publicity. Religious people need to understand what atheism is, why it is intellectually honorable, and why there is no reason to fear it. We support critical thinking and respect for evidence. Faith-based thinking leads to closed minds and can result in bigotry, distrust, and hatred. We promote critical thinking programs and we encourage open dialogue. We aim to introduce an atheist Bill of Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights does not adequately protect atheists. We anticipate intense opposition from religions and religiously affiliated governments, but this is on our agenda and we will make it happen. If you agree with our aims, why not help? You can become a member or a volunteer, or you can donate. If you are part of an atheist group, become an affiliate. We will be stronger together. You'll find everything you need on our website.
Okay, thanks for listening, and don't forget we're on YouTube, so follow us on YouTube. Just search for Atheist Alliance International and please subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're also on all of your favourite podcast platforms, so make sure that you follow us on there as well. I'm Andy Phillips, and don't forget we're risen apes, not fallen angels. See you next time.